bed. There are other things we can do that we'll talk about later on that are better ways to do it. Kids not getting out of bed, oppositional behavior, lying, aggressive behavior, damaging property. Now, these kind of things may cross over into more sort of true kind of behaviors, but what we're talking about here for the school refusal student are the kids that are, it's really kind of stemming from a place of there is a high degree of anxiety and fear of school to the point where it gets to, they may be throwing things. I've had a student who really was a school refusal student who would do things like damage things, like would break his phone in frustration if parents were trying to get him to go to school. And the pattern we had to work through is parents would back off when that would happen and then would always get the phone fixed or get a new phone, which just kind of let the problem continue and cycle through. Kids are trying to escape, run out of the school building, or jump out. This child was dealing with the trauma. They're very emotionally labile. This, you talk about the student that was very quiet. That is totally something that could happen, but the student is very different. Or the student that is presenting as different in different places. So the depressed student that is really irritable at home won't follow parents' directions. They talk about the child crying all day, arguing over school, but when they're at school, they're quiet and cooperative. Teachers say there's no problem at school. That child is depressed, right? They're holding it together. That doesn't mean that it's not a real thing, and we don't have to address it. So that child that we can get to do whatever we want in school doesn't mean we want them to do whatever. We still need to think about what accommodations, how do we lessen this burden so when that child gets home, they're not falling apart, right? So can we give them that accommodation so they have more resources to function at home? And consequently, I do believe they will get more out of school. When you are, where are you looking? That's a big thing. Now, with eye contact, one of the things that we want to be really mindful of is culture. So for the majority of people in this country, or at least I can really speak for sort of the Northeast, when a teacher's talking to you, a parent's talking to you, you make eye contact if you got someone in terms of authority figure. But certainly from other cultures, that may be different. In certain cultures, certain say Latin American countries, certain indigenous cultures, the go-to might be to look away when an adult is talking to you. That to look at an adult in the eye would actually be disrespectful. When someone's talking to you, look down. So there's a few different things that we can be mindful there. If we have, well, I guess one, if you're in a different cultural area where that is eye contact would be disrespectful, to be mindful of that, but also for some students, if they are coming from get up to speed. Schools can be reluctant on tutors. Well, I mean, home tutoring definitely, because we want the kid as much as they can to be in the school building. But I think sometimes encouraging them to get one when the students transitioning in, they're really behind, may be helpful. It may actually reduce the burden on the student and get them committed to consistency sooner rather than later. I find that as much as I can keep in contact with the school, this doesn't mean that I'm calling every week, but once a month I may just check in, like, how are things going, just to that point person, and see where they at with their makeup work, and how's the plan going, are teachers following it. Some other things, thinking about alternatives to the cafeteria. The cafeteria can really be a challenging place for a lot of these students. And I eventually want them to be in the cafeteria if they can, because that's a good social.